What if I tell you that the key to happiness, love, and inner peace, it's already within you? One of my favorite books is A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. And I want to share 7 lessons that I extracted from the book. And I think they're so powerful and really have the key to change our lives and the way we think about love and life in general. Lesson number 1: love is the answer to everything. The central premise of the book, A Return to Love, is that truth. Love is the answer to all of our life's challenges. She writes, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. She talks about how we are scared that inside we have that light and love, and we're scared to show it to the world because we feel we're not deserving. And that relates to so many of us, that sometimes we think we're not deserving of the good things in life and we settle for less, which cannot be farther from the truth. The quote reminds us that without love, our life is led by fear. So the opposite of love. And I'm sure in your lives, many times you were ruled by fear, just like me, like all of us. And we didn't choose love. If we chose love, we would make a different choice. But the what ifs, the fear that creeps into us, the brain trying to protect us, and we start listening to that and going on board with that fear of our own potential, fear of failure, fear of being vulnerable. By choosing love over fear, we open ourselves up to a life filled with opportunities and deeper connections. And love is not just an emotion, it's a choice, it's a practice. If we choose to listen to love and we practice that, that will become our nature. When we choose love, we choose this path of self-healing, of authenticity, of true empowerment. Because when you walk in life and you're led by love and not fear, you feel invincible. You can do anything. You know that you're supported by the universe, by a higher power, by whatever you believe in. Many times people make decisions, even in relationships, mostly in relationships, because it's so scary. When it comes to relationships and money, people very often cling to things because they're scared. We cling to money because we're scared. I'm not going to be safe without this money. Or we cling to a person, or we're so emotionally detached and unavailable and fearful of getting hurt, of letting this person in and letting them know who we are, that they'll see who we are and they're not going to like it and then run away, that we just isolate ourselves and we cannot be fully vulnerable and in an intimate relationship. Because what is an intimate relationship? It's being vulnerable, being fully open to the other person to maybe hurt you, but maybe not. I tend to think for myself that I'm a very fearless person. I've been through a lot in my life. If I been scared to do things, I would have never been where I am and who I have became along the way. And I can tell you for certainty that I became this person that I actually love myself for it, so fearless, and choosing love most of the time. When I have to do the scary thing, I'll choose the things that I'm scared of. But when I failed so many times in my life, that is what built my resilience and my trust as well. Because let me tell you, many times things did work out. So it built that trust that if I choose love, or if I choose the things that scare me and I go for it, sometimes things work out even better than I have imagined. I know the universe will support me. I'm scared to do this thing, but I know that is where growth lies. And I'm committed to lifelong growth. I'm here on this earth to grow, to learn as a human, to embrace my full potential. And I can only do that when I do the things that scare me. And many times I have failed, but that built even more trust in my abilities to handle the situation. If you don't risk and fail, you're not going to build your abilities, your resistance to life challenges, your resilience, and you're not going to be able to trust yourself. And also, when you go for the things that scare you and things work out, you will build trust in the universe, trust in a higher power, trust in yourself, in your intuition. But that only comes when you act from love and trust. So I always say faith over fear. That's it. Simple. That is where love is, faith. So love is the opposite of fear. Fear is the opposite of love. And I try to remember this every single time I communicate with people, I make decisions, and it's very difficult at times when we're triggered, but I try. I fail, but I get better and better every single time. Lesson number 2, forgiveness heals the heart. Forgiveness. It's really difficult to forgive. We all know we want to point fingers. Years and years down the road, we still hold a grudge. It is like drinking a poison, hoping the other person will die. And that poison slowly eats you up because we become bitter, resentful, and that spills in every area of our lives because that becomes our attitude. And so, one of the most transformative lessons from a return to love is that forgiveness is so powerful. It frees you. It doesn't mean the other person had the right to hurt us. Maybe we are right and they're wrong. But if we hold on to that grudge, it will slowly eat us up. In the book, it explains that forgiveness is not about pardoning the other person. It's about freeing ourselves from the burden, the emotional burden that holds us back. She writes, forgiveness is not just an act, it's a shift in perception. It's a perception on how we see the situation, how we see the other person. It will be easier to forgive. Hurt people hurt. And probably some parts of them are broken or damaged or programmed in a way that cannot give love. But we have the responsibility towards ourselves to always choose love. And that ultimately brings us to forgive the other person, to see them with these different eyes. Forgiveness does not excuse harmful actions, but it allows us to free ourselves from the past, make peace with it, and move forward. And ultimately, it's a path to inner peace and emotional freedom. And that is the only way that we can attract more of that because we attract based on our energy, on our wavelength. And there's no way if you're bitter and resentful that you are going to attract good things in your life. You have to have inner peace. It's not about this happiness, pretending, putting on a face and reciting few mantras and all that and just smile. No, it's about inner peace. That gives the emotional freedom, the inner peace. And that brings a lot of the good things in life. Lesson number 3, we are all connected. She emphasizes the interconnectedness of all beings, and she writes, love is the central truth of our lives. It is the foundation of our happiness, the reason for our existence. When we recognize that interconnectedness, that will allow us to see every act of kindness, compassion, and love that we offer to others as a reflection of the love we have and we give to ourselves. That is why it's so important to work on ourselves and to recognize that whatever we give to ourselves, whatever we think about ourselves, we create this energy around us. And that is how we attract more of that because we're going to ultimately act from that place and give from that place. If we don't have love towards ourselves, how can we give love to another person? How can we attract a loving person? Ultimately, when we love ourselves, we respect ourselves, we have healthy boundaries. That's how we attract people that treat us like that, because there's no way that we can treat ourselves with kindness and respect and allow someone else to treat us kindness and disrespect. There's just no way. The relationships that we have are a reflection of who we are. So if you're in a relationship with someone who is not respecting your boundaries, or it's not emotionally available, and you don't have the intimacy, and you're always the giver and the taker, or there's abuse and all that, there's just no way that you are loving, kind, and respectful to yourself. There's just no way, because we attract on that level. And once you start loving, caring, and accepting yourself for who you are, flaws and all, then this kind of behavior will be a turn off. You're not even going to go past the second date or third date or whenever you recognize these patterns. And also, when we understand that we're all one, treating the other person, it's like treating yourself, because we're all one. When we understand this concept, there's no separation, there's no judgment. And ultimately, we start living with more empathy, compassion, understanding. And ultimately, it strengthens our relationship with others. But first and foremost, it has to come from within. We have to strengthen the relationship with ourselves, give the love to ourselves, and then start going outside. Lesson number 4, embrace your true self. I did a whole separate video on that. And this is very powerful lesson in the book. It's an invitation to embrace ourselves, our authentic, no masks, no pretending who we are, our authentic selves. And again, it comes down to love. She teaches that the only thing that stands between us and love is the fear of fully showing up as who we are. So powerful. We're so scared to be our authentic self. This is all layers of programming. The way I think is we are love and light. And all the programming from childhood cover this love and light with layers of childhood programming. And now our job, it's not about becoming something, becoming your best self and authentic self. No, it's about unlearning, unraveling, unbecoming, peeling those layers so that light and love can shine from within. And guess what? When we don't do this work and when we play small, we're not serving the world, because we have a purpose in this life. We're here for a reason, to reach our full potential, but we cannot reach our full potential if we play small. If we don't unravel these layers and layers of programming and excavate what's inside and find that love and light, there's no way that we can reach our full potential, because we are going on through life with masks, seeking this external validation, material things, but we rarely stop and look inside. We rarely stop and reflect and start peeling these layers and asking ourselves the important questions. Why am I doing this? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? How can I show up differently in the world? How can I become my most authentic, true self? And this is only by looking inside and unlearning the programming that we have and embracing that love and light. Because let me tell you, when we have this mask on, we have a lot of shame inside of who we are, of this uncovered truths, of these shadows. We are shameful of these shadows that we have inside of us, the parts that are in the dark, that didn't receive love, that were criticized, and were deemed unlovable. When we go out in the world and we start showing up and doing the things that we want to do, we act from shame, carry that shame with us. And that's a wound, and that's a very low vibration emotion. Shame and guilt are the two lowest vibration emotions. And there is no way that you can show up in the world as yourself without being afraid that someone will find out who you are. How many relationships were ruined? People are scared to let people close to them because they have that wound of shame. They're scared. I will let that person close They'll see who I am. They're not gonna like it and they're gonna run away. But guess what? You show up like that, not only in relationships, you show up like that in every area of life because the way you do one thing is how you do everything. So when you go to your job and you don't speak up and you don't go for the promotion, there is a part of you that's blocked. There is a shadow that is in there. Probably you think, I'm not going to be deserving of this goodness that comes from this job, or I'll fail, or I'm not equipped. There's fear of success, fear of failure, all these variations of fear. But the only way is to look inside, unpeel these layers, and find the love and light, and accept that we are not perfect human beings, but we have to accept ourselves with flaws and all. That is the only way. That is what self confidence is. And that is how you start looking at yourself differently. And in relationships, when we embrace ourselves fully, then we can open the doors to this unconditional love, because then we are not scared to let the person in, because they're not going to see something that we haven't accepted ourselves or something that we're ashamed of. Why do you think people self-sabotage relationships? It has nothing to do with us, with the other person. It's that person. In the book, she talks about embracing who we truly are without the fear of the shame. That is the key to living a fulfilled life. And we have to trust that our inadequacy or flaws, this is not something to hide. This is something to celebrate, because guess what? That gives unique flavor to who we are. If we're all the same, these perfect creatures created by AI or whatever, what is the fun in that? That's why we're different. You might be more rigid and the other person is more life-loving and risk-taking. And you come together without trying to change each other. You come together, weave that life together, and meet in the middle. So by embracing who we are, our true selves, flaws and all, we can experience that deep self-love and ultimately attract love from others. Lesson number 5, love yourself first. That is not selfish. That is a prerequisite for all the good things that will come into your life. And the central idea is about self-love. She says that in order for us to truly love someone else, we have to love ourselves. Learning to be nurturing and caring to ourselves in a healthy way, being compassionate. It's self-love, it's about respecting our needs, our boundaries, honoring our worth. And when we love ourselves, we send that message to the universe that we're worthy of love. And we create the space for others to love us as well. And only from that place of self-love, we can experience and share that unconditional love with others. Lesson number 6, let go of the ego. I'm fascinated by the ego. I'm Sagittarius. I have big ego. And years it took me to start operating from a different place. I cannot say that I don't operate from ego place many times, but I'm getting better and better. So another powerful lesson in the book is about letting go of the ego. And egos are driven by fear, separation, and pride, which only leads to suffering. She writes, ego is just a mask we wear to protect ourselves from the vulnerability of love. Isn't that powerful? That is so powerful, because we put these masks to go to work, one mask, to be with our friends, another mask, and even in relationships, even with our children. And it's so refreshing when you are with someone without that mask, like they're themselves. And when you operate without that ego, there's no mask to wear. You don't need to protect yourself, and you can be vulnerable. But again, is that wound of shame, that wound inside that not accepting who we are and our flaws and inadequacies. All of this, we're trying to protect it with a mask. Look at me. I'm with my briefcase going to work. I'm this powerful boss and all that. And underneath, very often, is this scared little person, child, who's trying to prove something or is scared to lose it all and is hoarding money or whatever the case may be. It's not an authentic way of living, but also it's not a big way of living. And it operates from fear, not from love. When we choose love, we choose to let go of these false beliefs that we acquired during our lifetime. And we choose to let go of these defenses that the ego creates. You can see if you have been with people that are carrying that wound of shame, you can see in their faces, you can notice when they start building these walls and defenses and the ego starts to run the show. And it's really painful and scary to watch. When we let the ego go, we stop identifying with our mistakes, judgments, and fears and failures. And instead, we connect with this higher part of ourselves. Then the magic happens. By releasing the ego, we make space for love and joy and inner peace, which ultimately is the biggest prize. Having inner peace, being content with who we are and the life we built. That is so freeing. But when we release that ego, then all these things start to flow freely through our lives. Lesson number 7, trust the divine plan. She reminds us that life unfolds in a perfect timing. And even when we can't see the big picture, we need to trust the process of life. And then we will see how everything falls into place. How many times we had a heartbreak or a job that didn't work out or something happened and we were so devastated, disappointed, heartbroken. And in retrospect, months or years later, we see it as a blessing because we had a better job. We met someone who became our life partner, or just things aligned in such a magical way. That's why it's important in moments that are so difficult and so disappointing for us to believe that the universe supports us, God supports us, and everything happens for a reason. And what is meant to be will be. If something is yours, it will come to you. If something left your life, there is a reason why it left your life. If something comes to your life, there's a reason why it came to your life. That's why don't block, don't push away the blessings that come into your life just because you're scared or you feel not deserving of the goodness that comes into your life. I can't receive it. I don't feel deserving. And let me tell you, it's not a conscious thought. That's the scary part. It's not a conscious thought. We push it away because we find all these reasons in a list of things why this person is wrong and imperfect and whatever. And we push the good things away or the good people away because we feel so undeserving. And that's why it's so important to self-reflect and see, why am I doing what am I doing? And take our time to decide, reflect on things, and listen to our intuition because our intuition knows best. My intuition is spot on, but then I start doubting it many times. My intuition tell me, leave this person, but I'll start overthinking afterwards and be like, oh, but this is a good quality in him or this and that. Sure enough. But you know what? I've learned not to beat myself up and I say to myself, okay, I did not listen to my intuition. Next time I will. But I extract the lessons. So it's very important to trust the process in life and to trust that everything unfolds for our own good. And when we think like that, we're so detached from the outcome. And that is a beautiful way of living, to be detached, because then we don't operate from fear, but from love. There's no more, what if this happened? What if that happens? No, I want to do this. I'm taking intentional action towards this, but I'm letting go of the outcome. If it doesn't happen or something else happens, that's okay. I trust the universe that there's a reason and that this reason is for my highest good. And ultimately, how we create miracles when we stop manipulating outcomes or the fear of the unknown, then miracles happen. Something even better that we ever dreamed of. When we trust that divine plan, we're not anymore in resistance. We're living in this inner peace and knowing that everything will work out for our highest good. And I love this book. If you have a chance to read it, easy read, but I would suggest the way I read books like this. I read a chapter or a few pages at night, and then I reflect and think about it, let it digest, and then go to the next. And it has such a profound wisdom in that book, and it helps you return to the essence of who we are. And who we are is love. I hope you start practicing some of them, if not all of them, and be compassionate with yourselves because you are going to fall along the way, and it's normal. Just give compassion to yourselves. And always remember, the most important relationship we have is the one we have with ourselves. It always starts with us. So be loving and kind to yourselves. I'll see you next time. Ciao.